joining the discourse. We appreciate you so much. I'm Jen Sanasi. It is such a pleasure to be moderating this conversation today. I'm a news anchor and producer at CoinDesk, and I'm just super excited to be sitting down with these ladies. So I'm going to introduce each of you, and then I'm going to give you a chance to introduce yourselves. So with me is Nsé Barna, VP of Operations at Alio, Sira Toure, software engineer at Raytheon and co-founder at CryptoBabes, Randy Gomez, co-founder at Sparks and co-founder at Blue Latam, and Rakshana Hassanali, co-founder at 3XP. So let's give everyone a round of applause. Woo! And then I'll give each of you a chance to do a quick intro on yourself. Let's keep it quick so we can dive into the convo, all right?
Well, my name's Sira Toure, co-founder of CryptoBabes, software engineer, dev for life. I feel like she summarized it well enough. I don't know what else to say.
Love it. Short and sweet. I'm Rakshana Hassanali. I'm one of the co-founders of 3XP, an experiential marketing company working with blockchain companies to produce really cool, engaging, and inclusive events.
My name is Nsé Barna. I'm the VP of Operations at Alio. Alio is the layer 1 blockchain focusing on privacy, and I'm a newly crypto enthusiast now.
Hello everyone, my name is Randy. I'm the founder of Sparks Labs. We are a global event production organization. And if you think it's hot in here, we're actually going to be producing ETH Miami in October. So if you like the heat, come join us in Miami.
All right, so our panel today is called Building Bridges, Cultivating Community, Fostering Culture, and Encouraging Collaboration in Web3. This is super important if you want diversity of perspective in the companies that you're building. And it doesn't always come organically and authentically to any of us. It's not only women who have to think about this, it's men who have to think about this, it's absolutely everyone who's building anything. And so where I want to start this conversation is with confidence. Confidence is a big barrier when it comes to collaboration. It's not something that we often consider as a barrier. So my first question is, I found confidence one of the big barriers for myself when I was entering this space. How do you enable your teams to feel confident to share their perspectives, to share what they know, so that you're getting the most out of them? Sira, I'll start with you.
Oh man, okay. I feel like one is having, understanding that having different perspectives are important, and making sure that there's cultural representation so that the people feel like they are represented when they are speaking to you. I think that's one. Two is, having that encouragement and keep encouraging people to try to speak, to try to, prosper. And I feel like for me, sorry about that. Oh, shoot. And trying to make sure, everybody has a voice in that sense. That's my answer.
That was a really good answer. And I guess echoing off that, it's just being aware that everyone does have a different perspective and they come from different cultures and different values, and they all need to work together and be succinct for us to really represent that in the Web3 space. So I think creating safe spaces, really trying to seek to understand their perspective, not kind of being reactive with your first impression, and maybe even trying to see things from a different perspective. I think that really creates that opportunity and removes those barriers and lets people feel more confident about their opinions.
For Alio, or for what I've done for... Can they hear me? Okay. So for what I've done for a lot of people in my team is I'll simply ask, do they feel like they would be better at their job if they knew the answer to something? If this is a question that they have, knowing the answer, will that make them better? And if the answer is yes, then go with that question confidently. If this is going to better the team, better yourself in life, I always push for them to ask the questions. And even if they don't want to ask it, I like to stand in that space for them. And I tell everybody, I'm not a developer. This is my first tech company, all that, and I'm not ashamed of it. If other people are, I don't mind being that voice for them to ask the stupid questions. So just be that person for that person type thing.
Amazing. Yeah, I definitely want to echo everything that everyone has said here. I just want to shout out my 14-year-old daughter over here, who's my camera person. let's talk about building confidence, right? From a very young age. Representation is definitely important. You know, thank you so much for putting together these panels, because her seeing us up here is going to set the foundation for her to believe that she can achieve anything, literally. And also just providing my community and my team with the tools that they need to be successful. My background is in education, and so I strongly believe providing tools. It's not about like being the cheerleader, yes you can do it. It's about, yes you can do it, here are the tools that you will need. This is what I recommend that you read. This is a course that you can take. This is a person I can connect you with. And just going that extra mile, right? So they know that you are being intentional and that you care about their success, because their success is our success. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, we had a pre-call to discuss what we were going to talk about, and something that was common amongst everyone who's sitting here on this stage was they wanted their teams, the people they're working with, the people they're welcoming into their space, to understand that they are not alone. And I think that we forget sometimes that we can feel alone at work, we can feel alone when we're building, and that can really trickle into the type of product you are building. And so how do each of you think about supporting others, supporting your team members? How do you ensure that people don't feel alone and they feel like they have the space to speak up? Yeah.
I feel like one important thing is having that feedback loop, making sure that they have a safe space to be able to communicate when they don't feel comfortable or things are not going the right way, because I believe that if you're a good company, you should be wanting to build up. Your good communities should be wanting to build up. Actually listening, which is, you know, easier said than done, because there's so many times in life where you think your idea is better than most. But there's sometimes you have to just lend an open ear. Maybe not, if you don't agree with something, it's okay, just listen. Maybe that gives you a different perspective. That's kind of what I believe.
What does a safe space look like? I think we all say safe space, like we need safe space, we need safe space. What does it look and feel like?
Do you want me to answer?
Or anyone can answer it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, one thing that I love to say to individuals is like, are you listening to understand? Or are you listening to respond, right? Because there's a difference, right? So it's really important that you create a space where people feel that they are being heard. You know, for example, you're in a team meeting and you notice that, you know, one of your teammates has not chimed in and given feedback. So just providing with that space and saying, hey, you know, Charlie, hey, Carla, I haven't heard from you. I really value your opinion. What do you think about this? And also, you know, there's a big difference between empathy and sympathy. She's like, yep, I know. Please Google it, look up at all the videos, huge difference. And so creating a safe space for me is being empathetic, putting yourself in a situation that is similar to what this person is going through and understanding those feelings. And don't come with the silver lining situation, you know? Well, you could have, no, just listen, understand, feel it, and give that person the space to speak up.
When you're asking, you know, when you're asking for someone's opinion, is there a fear that maybe I might be putting this person on the spot?
Personally, no, because you know, I definitely take my time to get to know my teammates and know, okay, is this person not speaking up because they're timid or they're more introvert, which introverts, I love introverts because they're just filled with ideas and they love to share one-on-one, and that's okay. Sometimes we confuse, you know, extroverts with like the people with all the ideas. And so you have to really know your teammates, right? And know that when you do call them out that way, you're not putting them on the spot, and they feel comfortable with that interaction.
One of the things that I've always noticed that's helped me when I deal with a lot of my team members, I'm the queen of surveys. They all know it. You have to do the survey, and I make them anonymous. There's some that I make public because I kind of want to know who this person is. But I noticed that when I do the anonymous surveys and they trust that these are anonymous, they're more inclined to give real feedback and I can take that feedback to our like C-suite and our leaders to say like, hey, you guys, you know, effed up at this, and this is a way we can fix that solution, and nobody gets called out, or nobody feels like they're going to be reprimanded for an honest opinion.
Quickly before you go, does everyone on the panel agree that anonymous surveys is the way to do surveys, the way to speak to your teams?
I don't think that anonymous surveys are the only way to do it. I think that sometimes that if you, in my position, I kind of get the culture, the pulse of my team members. And if I personally don't want to use their name, but I need my leaders to know that this is a real situation that's happening for a specific person, I would use the anonymous surveys to show them that somebody at the company actually said this, so we need to fix that. And especially if there's multiple people saying around the same thing, this is a way where I'm like, you need to fix that. I don't think anonymous is the only way to go at all. But I do think that it's like you were saying, a tool to help with that.
So actually, one of the things that I learned, like having my own business and working with other people, is the idea of championing your team looks very different. And I think that's why it's really important to know your team members, like we were saying, Randy. Like, I used to think, like, if somebody says something to you one-on-one, that, like, oh, I should totally bring this up because, like, it's such a great idea, and I want them to be the one to share it. But that's not what championing looks like for everybody. And that some people do feel like they're put on the spot, and other people feel like, you know, like you're maybe helping them out. So I think understanding what it means to be that support system and actually create a safe space for them, not just what you think it is or what you think it should look like, is really the difference between, like, oh, that was actually super successful and I feel confident, to, like, I'm never telling you anything again.
Honestly,
I think you just gotta try twice.
I know, right? This mic. I think that kind of the theme is like adaptability, right? Just adapting to, you know, the circumstances, the people, because I know for introverts, it's definitely one-on-one is better. There's times like they, you know, my writers want to sit down and just write a whole essay saying, I don't like what's going on here. But in general, like, it just, you have to adapt to each person. Some people are willing to have the confidence to speak up and be like, hey, this is not the way I want to do things. And I think that's important, is to have multiple channels to respond to different situations.
I think the adaptability piece is really important. I really like that you bring that up. I think as leaders, as people who are building, we need to understand that we're the ones who actually need to adapt and understand others. It's not everyone around us who needs to adapt to the way we work. So I think that's like a super important point that you brought up there, Sarah. All right, someone else on the stage earlier made a comment about not seeing the same people on a cap table. Like, how do we continue to welcome new people into the space? And this comes up with the startups, the entrepreneurs who we partner with, who we support, who we invest our time, who we invest our resources in. How do each one of you think about welcoming new perspectives into the space? Yeah.
I think having, you know, incentives mechanisms, I think is really the most important, because at the end of the day, we're human beings. We want to get something from an experience. So offering, okay, you know, if you work for us voluntarily, you get to have us, you know, do a letter of recommendation, all these things. Especially as a startup, it is very tough because you don't have the money right away, right? So you have to really create those mechanisms where you kind of, I know from fact, like, I think getting personal, trying to get to know the person, creating those type of mechanisms, creating a community where they feel like it, you know, they're at home, I think is really one way to ensure that people who come into this space, creating events that are similar to that, having a conference like this where, you know, women and different, you know, cultures, different type of races are talking on the stage. I think that's one way to do it.
And what I love about that is that it's all about representation. Like, that was one thing I didn't realize was such a barrier for me, is, you know, growing up, I never saw people who looked like me in movies and TVs that weren't cab drivers or convenience store owners, you know? So it always unconsciously limited what I was willing to do, and also the people that I was willing to reach out to for mentorship. I was like, just felt the sense of not belonging, and so I try really hard whenever I get an opportunity to make that something that I can talk about, because anyone else, hopefully, who's feeling that way, like, I want you to know that that is not true. Just because you don't see it does not mean you can't be it, and you should, and hopefully will feel confident enough to take that on and be that representation that, like, you needed And so that was huge for me, realizing that. And so in terms of day-to-day work, what I try to do is I try to really be mindful of the people that we bring together at conferences, the speakers we have, the types of conversations we're dealing with. And sometimes they're a little bit tough to have, but I think they have to happen. And I think if you get the right people, the right attention, it really does, in a small way, move the needle.
I love the screams and the applause. Feel free to do that anytime throughout this panel.
One of the things that you had mentioned was about intention, and for companies and projects to be intentional with diversifying the places that they show up at. You take like any ETH event. I just learned yesterday that there's an ETH safari in Kenya, and I'm like intentionally showing up at places that you won't typically see the same faces. And all you guys have beautiful faces, and I've seen at other conventions or conferences, but for the company to intentionally show up at other places, I think that will attract, it lets these people know that we do welcome other types of people, other looks, other thoughts to come and join our company.
Randy, we have 2 minutes left. So I'm going to give each of you 30 seconds now to tell me about someone who did something for you that helped you form the thoughts that we're talking about on the stage today. So tell me about an experience you had in this space where someone did something that made you feel more included, that made you feel like you were in a safe space, that made you feel like you were in an equitable environment.
Oh, that's so easy. She's right here.
You get the easy one last because you have 30 seconds.
Yeah, so real quick, I want to shout out Annie. She's incredible from Aleo F3. Yes. I have to say that I have been so fortunate to work with powerhouse women like her and her team. And you know, this industry is brutal. It's brutal, and so it's so important for number one for you to have a solid foundation, right? Family, friends, and then to have your tight circle that when shit hits the fan, you have your people that you can call and have your back 1,000%, regardless of what's happening out there and what people are saying. And these are the type of people that you need to have around you all the time. So I want to thank you for all you do. You're amazing.
I'll be real quick, and even though I work at a really great company, I have a really great boss. I think Annie, again, when it's just the truth, I'm very confident in myself, but when you notice, and when it's a woman that truly sees you in this space, and a lot of times we could be, I don't want to say catty, but super guarded. I've been at my company for 2.5 years. Annie's been here since February. And this is like the first time that I felt seen by somebody at my company like that. Because I'm the only person that looks like me, and Annie was the one that gave that to me. So all props to Annie for that for me.
I swear this wasn't planned, but I totally also was going to say Annie and Val. And I want to say this, there was like a year ago, I got laid off from my job. I didn't see it coming, and I really just like lost a lot of confidence in myself. And Annie and Val just kept on believing in me to the point where I was like, oh my God, like I got to see me the way they see me. And like that's what's so amazing about F3 and these types of communities. It's like, okay, you know what? You don't see the magic in you today, and that's okay, but I got you. And you know, one day you're gonna get me or you're gonna get someone else. And so, yeah, absolutely so grateful to you both.
You're putting me on the spot here, I feel. I have to thank Annie. No, I am thankful to the F3 and everything.
Annie does this so we can all just thank her.
I know, right? I'll just say
joking.
thank you,
I'm
Annie.
just joking.
Keep it short, but honestly, I have to thank my crypto-based community. I'm excited to, yes. Honestly, we're having our first hackathon teams. I'm so excited about that, and excited that, you know, the growth in Canada, growth in US, and hopefully going global soon. But yeah, honestly, I'm just thankful for this community and this panel in general. That's really what I'm thankful for.
All right, and I want to add one tidbit in here. I interviewed a man recently, Will Robinson. He's a core contributor at Alliance DAO, and he said the way he advocates for more inclusion is when he's invited to speak on a panel, he won't do it unless there is guaranteed going to be a woman there beside him. And so that's one way males can contribute and help. We are out of time. Thank you so much for listening to us, for sitting in the heat, and we look forward to the rest of the panels today.